Hi guys, welcome to the first ever episode of the weekly playback. I was a guest on a podcast recently and had an opportunity to talk about which board games I've played and which games I'm backing on Kickstarter, and I realized I really like talking about that, and I don't get to do that when I'm making my 1-minute overview videos, but I enjoy talking about board games that I'm playing and backing on Kickstarter as much as I enjoy making 1-minute overview videos. So I decided to start a weekly series called the weekly playback where I can talk about the games I'm playing and talk about the games I'm backing on Kickstarter. Of course, this is just me having a conversation with myself, but I did decide I want to include a question and answer session at the end of every episode. So for this inaugural episode, I asked my followers on Twitter if they had any burning questions that they would like to ask me for my first episode, and I was asked a number of questions, so those will be at the very end of the episode. So without further ado, let's get started. So let's start with some of the games that I have played in the last week or so. So the first game I'm going to talk about is Villagers, and there is an expansion for Villagers currently on Kickstarter, but I will be discussing that a bit later. So Villagers is a card drafting and set collection kind of tableau building game. I love the artwork in this game, by the way. It does have a solo mode. I have not played it solo, but I would really like to try it solo at some point and then talk about my experiences as a solo game. So in this game, you have a village that has been, I believe, ravaged by a plague, and you are trying to create the most prosperous village. You are trying to earn the most money by the end of the game in order to win this game. So each person is going to have a village card in their village, like the basic village card, and so you know what, guys, I did do an overview video of this if you want to go see that, in case I don't explain it very well, because I have to look at how I actually set up this box. Okay, here we go. So each person is going to have a village square, and you are going to be drafting cards and placing the cards that you draft by taking turns on top of your village square. And then there is a building phase. So there are different suits in this game. So there's, like, for example, let's show you some of the suits. There's like a grape suit, there's a wood suit, there's a special suit, there's a hay suit. So there's different types of suits, and there's different types of things that you are trying to build. And you are trying to create chains and stack cards up on top of other cards to try and maximize the number of coins that you will earn during the 2 market phases in this game. It's a really great game. I really enjoyed it. So I enjoy games with a lot of player interaction, and the reason I enjoy this game is because I feel like you get a lot of that. So in this game, you can do a bit of hate drafting. Like if you see that someone is building up something and they really desperately need a card, you know, and you see that card and you have the opportunity to get it first, you could prevent them from getting some mega points. So that almost happened to me, actually. I was, you know, building up a chain, and I had the first 2 cards I needed in that chain, and I had the last card in my hand, but that third card was just not coming up. And then finally it came up, and I know that one of my friends was eyeing that card, ready to steal it from me. But then luckily I was able to get a special card and complete my chain anyway. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity for like player interaction like that. I really enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. I would classify it as a light to medium weight game. I wouldn't say it's heavy by any means, but I haven't played with the expansions yet, so maybe the expansions make it a little bit heavier, but it's not going to be like your heavy Euro style game. So, you know, if you're itching for a good game like that's mid-weight, that will give you some player interaction, let you have some fun, you know, fun is the main goal of playing games, right? You want to have fun when you're playing games. At least I do. Like, you know, there are some heavy Euros that I love playing, but if they're not fun, if I'm not having fun while playing them, I'm not going to want to play them again. Games that are just crunchy for the sake of being crunchy, but there's very minimal fun, like I won't want to play those again. If a game is crunchy but fun, then sure, I'll definitely want to play it again. So yeah, so Villagers is a really great game, and I highly recommend it. And again, I will try playing the solo mode and give my thoughts on that when I've had a chance to do that. So moving right on, I'll organize that later. The next game, I'll just stick with the same designer since I also had an opportunity to play Streets. So this is a game I actually did back on Kickstarter, but then the publisher reached out to me to see if I could do a preview video, a 1-minute video of Streets. So I was super excited because why not? If I get to get it earlier than I normally would. Sure, why not? Definitely. So I actually played a 2-player game of this. This is a tiling game where you are trying to create streets, you are going to be owning buildings, and you are trying to earn the most money in order to win this game. So each player is going to have their business ownership tokens. Let me see if I can just show you some of those. So yeah, so business ownership tokens look like this, and each player will have 5. So you will be able to own a maximum of 5 buildings at any one time. You are going to be placing down tiles, these street tiles, and they all have like different kinds of, I guess you can call them suits. They're different business types. Like some of them are food establishments. I think some of them are like shops, and some of them are like different kinds of stores. Well, shops and stores are the same thing. So some of them are like different kinds of like just establishments, just different kinds of service establishments, restaurants, etc. So there's going to be different kinds of people, and you are placing down streets in order to, you're trying to create streets and place people on them strategically to try and get the most money. So when a street becomes enclosed, and the rule book goes over what makes an enclosed street, then you will score for all the buildings on that street. And the player who is the one who enclosed the street is the one who will get to go first and decide where all the people will move to from the buildings that are being scored onto open buildings on open streets. So once a building has been scored, you have to move these little guys to their preferred building type on an open street, unenclosed street. So it does get tricky. You know, you may want to try to enclose a street that has a lot of guys on some of the buildings, especially if you're able to own those buildings. You may have to give up ownership of a building that you own because you've run out of ownership tokens. I really like it. I think it's a pretty strategic tiling game. I had a lot of fun while playing it, and we did mess up on a little bit of the rules, but even knowing what I messed up on, it didn't significantly impact the game, and I know that the next time I play it, I would do it correctly, and I would still have just as much fun as I did the first time I played this. And again, this is another game that I really want to play solo. Like, I'm dying to play this solo. So I'm going to do that, and I'll hopefully give my thoughts on how I think of it as a solo game. But just like Villagers, I find it's a highly interactive game, light to midway, and it's just enjoyable. It's just really enjoyable. Like, if you want, you know, to play a game but don't want to spend so much time setting up, like, you know, sometimes you just really want to have fun without spending half an hour setting up a board, and that's perfectly fine. So I think Streets and Villagers fit the bill for those, you know, the times when you want to play a game like that. The next game I want to discuss is Long Shot the Dice game. So this is a prototype copy, but the prototype copy is actually really good. It is like production level prototype, so it's really good. So this is also a game that I made a video for if you guys want to check the overview and see how it's played. So basically there is going to be a racetrack, and on this racetrack there are going to be 8 different horses. Let me just pull out the horses to show you guys. So even for a production copy, I mean, this is so good. I mean, just check out these horses. It's like these screen printed wooden pieces. So you are going to be moving these horses. So the active player is going to roll 2 dice. 1 die will determine which horse is moving, the main horse, and how many spaces. This die is numbered 1 through 3. When the main horse moves, like for example, if 1 was rolled, then in addition to 1, all the horses that have an X marked on the bottom are going to move 1 space. And then each player has the option to take an action. Well, not the option, you are going to take an action. And there are various actions you can take. So, so you can mark off a circle on the concession stand, and that will be of the horse that was rolled. So if 1 was rolled, you could mark off a 1 here, or you could mark off a helmet or a jersey for 1, or you could mark off, you could place a bet on 1, or you could buy 1. So you're going to go in player orders because the person who rolled will obviously have the first chance to buy the horse. The horses do have special abilities. Some of them are like immediate, some of them are in-game, like throughout the game, and some of them are end-game bonuses. So if you own a horse, then you get that special ability, and you also, if that horse wins, you will get some serious purse money. And the objective in this game is obviously to get the most money in order to win. So the game will finish once 3 horses have crossed the finishing line, and the first horse to cross will get $35. So if you own that horse, you are going to get $35 if that horse is it your possession and cross the finishing line first. Now, of course, this is a luck-based game, but there are ways to mitigate luck. So if you complete a concession stand row or column, you get a bonus. Some of the bonuses can allow you to move a horse up 3 spaces, back 3 spaces, 2 horses up 2 spaces, 2 horses back 2 spaces. You can get some additional money. You can buy a horse for free. You can do a free jersey or helmet action. And also there are these wild symbols that you can use 3 times in the game. So instead of, taking an action for the horse that was rolled, you can use the wild and take an action for any other horse that you want. So yeah, it's a pretty fun game. I've played it twice at 5 players each recently, and everyone really loved it. Like, we all had so much fun playing this game. Again, it is a bit luck heavy because, you're rolling dice, but there are ways to mitigate that luck. So for that reason, I really like it. If there weren't any ways to mitigate luck, then of course I wouldn't want to play it. But because there are ways to mitigate that luck, I think it's really fun, and I would definitely play this again and again when other people want to. And I definitely want to try the solo mode of this one as well. I have not had a chance to do that yet. Okay, moving on. The next game I'm going to discuss is Hansa Teutonica. So this is an older game. This came out in 2009. This is a network and route building game. So you are going to have cubes and you are placing them onto the board, trying to connect cities and gain ownership of those cities, and obviously trying to get the most points in order to win this game. Even though this is an older game, we had so much fun playing this. I played it at 3 players, and it was recommended to me to definitely have a minimum of 3 players. The more players, the better. It's I believe it's 2 to 5 players, if I'm correct, or is it 3 to 5? It might be 3 to 5 actually. I can imagine it would be a lot more fun at 4 or 5 players. It would take a bit longer, I think. I do like this game. There are opportunities to destroy other people's routes that they're building but when you do that, they get a chance to place their cubes elsewhere if you've, moved some of their cubes. But yeah, it's just kind of like a race to get to the most points, and whoever has the most points at the end will win. Once 10 cities have been taken over. Once people have control of 10 cities total, the game can end, or if someone reaches 20 points, that can trigger the game end as well. So our game end was triggered when someone completed the 10th city, and that was really unfortunate for me because I was just about to make a really good move. So that was disappointing for me, but I still had so much fun playing this, and I cannot wait to play again. I got the big box, which includes the other maps, and I'm super excited to try the Britannia map. So yeah, this is a super fun game. So, it's an evergreen game, I would say. It came out in 2009, but it holds up really well right now. I can enjoy this as much as I enjoy playing a new game in my collection, and I'm definitely dying to get this to the table again. So if you haven't had a chance to play Hansa Teutonica, I highly recommend it. The next game I want to talk about, I don't own. It's called Praga, Caput, Regni. Hopefully I got that right, unless it's Praga, Regni, Caput. I don't think so, but yeah, so that is a really great game. It's a heavy Euro game designed by Vladimir Suchi, and I really enjoyed it. It was my second time playing the game. Both times I played it at 3 players. The first time I played, I think I got 68 points. The second time I played, I scored over 100 and I came in second place. And I like games where you have multiple areas to try and get your points. It's like a heavy Euro point salad-y game where you can try to advance on the road, which is what I focused on both times I played this game, and clearly that's not a winning strategy, just focusing solely on the road. There are these walls you can climb up. Obviously you're trying to build little cities. I don't know if they're called cities because you're actually within the city. You're trying to build little villages, I guess. I don't know what they're called. I should have done more of that. I think that would have earned me more points. I did end the game with some eggs, and I learned a fun fact while playing this game. It's actually in the rulebook, and I was asking my friend, why are there eggs in this game? It's not about Russia, it's about Prague. And he said that when they were building the bridge, they actually mixed in eggs with the cement or whatever, and that helps keep the bridge together, I guess, or makes it sturdier. So that's why there are eggs in the game, and that was explained in the rulebook. So I think that's pretty cool. It's a really great game. It's super fun. Again, you know, I like Euros that have a lot going on, where there's different paths to victory, like Merv or Coimbra. Those are my favorite types of Euro games. And so yeah, so this is definitely a favorite Euro of mine now, and I definitely want to try Vladimir Suchi's other games. So those are the games that I played in the last week or so. Since this is the first episode, I was tempted to talk about games I've played more recent, you know, like within the last couple of weeks, but hopefully I'll get a chance to play them again soon. Like, I really want to be able to talk about Imaginarium and Coloma, two games that I've really enjoyed a lot, and the Grand Carnival. So hopefully I will get to play them again sometime soon. One of the downsides of being a content creator is that you end up, you know, not getting to play the games that you really enjoy over and over and over again, because you are playing the new stuff. You're playing games that are launching on Kickstarter, which is great, and I thoroughly love that and enjoy that, but it does take away time from playing games that I really love. But that's going to change because, you know, the world is opening up. More and more of us are vaccinated, so I am getting the opportunity to play games way more than I did a few months ago. So hopefully I will get to play Coloma and Imaginarium and all these other games that I love again and again and talk about them. So, having discussed that probably a little bit too fast, and again, you know, this is my first episode, so feel free to give me feedback if you want to do so privately. You know where to find me on Twitter or Facebook, or you can leave some comments below. I would appreciate your feedback. So having completed this, let's move on to the next section, which is which games I'm backing on Kickstarter. If you notice a little break in the video, that's because I actually stopped the video so that I could take a sip of water and bring up the Kickstarter page on my laptop. So the first game, I guess I'll go from ending soonest to ending later. I do want to mention a game that actually ended yesterday. The campaign for it ended yesterday, and I'll mention it in case late pledges open up for this game. It is called Grab Your Goat, and it's this cute little game that comes in a little square box, and it's like a tile laying game, and each person has a shepherd and a goat, and your goat has gone to the top of the mountain, and you need to be the first one to get your goat off of the mountain. I didn't even know about this game. I was looking at some other games on Kickstarter, and it came up under suggested games, and when I clicked on it, I immediately fell in love. I know nothing about the gameplay except for what I just mentioned. I don't know if it's a good game or a bad game. I haven't had a chance to review it, but the artwork is just so whimsical. I love it. Like, I have not seen artwork like that in a game. And as much as we all have our favorite board game artists, I do enjoy seeing different types of art in games. Like, I'll admit, I'm kind of, you know, I won't mention which artist, but like, again, I have my favorite board game artists, but you know, I do want to start seeing different types of art in games. Like, you know, a lot of the artists have very the same style in each game, so you can tell it's them who made that art. So this game, it's just different. It's different from the art you will see in other games, and for that reason, I just knew I had to have it. I don't think the artist has done any other board games. I looked them up on Board Game Geek, and when I clicked on their name, Grab Your Goat was the only game I saw. So yeah, so Grab Your Goat. I cannot wait to get that. So again, they might have late pledges. I know that Jeff Berggren of The Gaming Goat, which is a really great retail website, by the way, if you want to order games. I've had, you know, great customer service whenever I've had any questions or anything. So yeah, I think he mentioned that he was going to back this game for, you know, the retail version, copies of it. So he might have it for sale once you know, it's produced. So keep your eyes open for Grab Your Goat. Okay, so the first game I will talk about is Winterhaven Woods. And the campaign for this is ending on July 15th. This is a set collection game, card drafting set collection game. It's got wintry animals set against a really like crisp white background. The artwork is so striking. Again, I don't know how it plays. I haven't watched any playthrough videos. I haven't really read any reviews for it. I haven't played this designer's previous game, so I don't know if it's a good game or a bad game, but, you know, and I don't want to say that there are bad games, but like, you know, it takes a lot for a game to be bad, I guess. There are games that aren't going to be to your liking, which maybe aren't as perfect as you would like them, but, you know, I would feel bad saying a game is bad. So So Winterhaven Woods, the artwork is just so striking, and that's what attracted me to the game. I do tend to buy and back a lot of games based solely on artwork, and I just hope that I like the game as much as I like the artwork. So that is, you know, what this is. I'm just hoping I like the game as much as I like the artwork. I wanted a game that would have a wintry, Christmassy vibe to it that I can pull out during that season and play. I feel like I don't have a lot of games that fit that season and vibe, that, you know, holiday. So whereas I do have a number of games now that can be played on Halloween, but I don't think I have any Christmassy games. So yeah, so that's why I'm backing Winterhaven Woods. The next game I'm backing, I'm also backing for artistic reasons, Tranquility, the Ascent. I have not played the first game, the Tranquility, not the Tranquility. The first one, I believe, takes place out on the sea or the ocean. I haven't played that game, but this one, the artwork is just so beautiful. It's just so beautiful, and I'm like, I need to have it. It's a cooperative game, so it's 1 to 5 players, and generally I'm not a fan of cooperative games. The only 2 cooperative games that I actually enjoy are Horrified and Endangered. Otherwise, I'm just not a fan. Maybe I just haven't played any other ones that are right for me. Okay, I've played Pandemic, The Reign of Cthulhu, and of course I've played the original Pandemic. You know, that's okay. I wouldn't say I'm like the biggest fan of it. I'll play it if someone wants to, but it's not, you know, the game I would want to grab off of the shelf if it's up to me. Whereas Horrified I do enjoy, and Endangered I really enjoyed as well. So Tranquility, the Ascent, I'm guessing I'm probably going to play this solo more often than as a cooperative game, just because it can be played solo. And so I will try it as that. But yeah, again, it's the artwork, and there is a goat in this game as well. There's 1 goat meeple, so if you want multiple goats in the game, go check out Grab Your Goat. But yeah, so Tranquility, the Ascent, I can't wait for it, just because it looks, oh wait, maybe there are more goats. Oh, sorry, there are more goats. It looks like there's 12 goats. Okay, so take that back. There's more than 1 goat. Okay, so yeah, but it looks amazing. I just love the artwork. Yeah, so check out Tranquility, the Ascent, and if you've had a chance to watch a playthrough of it, 'cause I typically don't have the patience to watch playthroughs, which is, I know, ironic considering that I'm planning on starting my own. But yeah, so that's the next game I'm backing, is Tranquility, the Ascent. The last game I will mention is Villagers Shifting Seasons. So that's going to end. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention when Tranquility, the Ascent ends. So that ends on August 2nd. So there's still like a month left for that. So maybe I should have mentioned Villagers next, because that ends on July 22nd. So Villagers Shifting Seasons, that's the game I had discussed earlier. There's an expansion for it, which, you know, I haven't played Villagers with the previous expansion, which I have, but I enjoy it a lot, and I think I will enjoy the expansion as well. I am a completionist, so even if I have a game sitting on my shelf of shame that I haven't played yet and there's expansions coming out for it, I feel the need to buy them. I'm not sure that's such a smart thing to do, but, you know, it's the completionist in me, and there's also a bit of FOMO involved, because what if there's like Kickstarter exclusives, or, you know, something that I can't get later. So yeah, so I tend to back expansions for games that I haven't even played yet. So Villagers, I'm super excited for the Shifting Seasons expansion. I'm trying to decide whether or not I want the box of wooden coins or the playmat. The coins, you know, they would be useful. They mentioned that it comes in a really nice like magnetic like chest, and those coins can be used for other games. Yes, they can be used for other games. I'm just not sure that they would fit the aesthetic of other games. So for me, having matching coins and stuff is really important. Like, I don't want coins that look like they're out of time and place for this game that I'm playing. So those wooden coins, you know, they're brown and got bits of yellow in them and silver. I'm not sure that they would fit the aesthetic of a lot of games that I would use them for. So for that reason, I'm not sure I want to spend the money on them, though it would be nice to have a coin set just on hand like that, like wooden coins. As far as the playmat is concerned, it looks like a really nice playmat, so maybe I'll get that and hope that I will play Villagers enough to justify the cost of the playmat. So I might get that, actually. So yeah, so those are the games I'm currently backing on Kickstarter. If you're backing something that you feel like I absolutely should be backing, please let me know. I actually have a question. So is anyone here backing Scarface 1920? It looks amazing. I feel like I would enjoy it, but it is very expensive. And again, there's that FOMO. Like, I think in US dollars, the high tier pledge would come out to $165 if I remember correctly, and that does not include shipping. That is a lot of money. My most expensive game in my collection, I believe, is the Tricerian Collector's Edition, which I paid above market price for because I had missed out on the Kickstarter for it. And I'm not sure I want to spend another $200 or so on a board game. I've definitely spent over $100 on board games before, and you know, it's this problem of saying, oh, well, a couple of dollars here, a couple of dollars here, but then all those couple of dollars here and there add up to be a lot, and then you end up eating Taco Bell for like the rest of the month when you go broke. So I don't know. I mean, I think there's like still a number of days left to decide whether or not I should back Scarface. It looks good. Generally speaking, I'm not a fan of miniatures, and it seems like that game is miniature heavy, but it's set in a time period that I love and set in a city that I love, so I might have to get it. Let me know if you're backing Scarface 1920 and convince me to back it if you are backing it. And if you're not backing it, tell me why I don't need it, okay? All right, so let's move on to the question and answer session. Okay, again, I took a break to have a sip of water. So let's get into the question and answer session. So as I mentioned for my inaugural episode, I asked on Twitter if anyone had any questions. Going forward, I will just look at the comments below to see if there are any questions. So if you would like to ask anything, it could be board game industry related. Not that I'm an expert on this industry by any means. It could be related to content creation, it could be personal, it could be about my job as an attorney, you know, whatever. Just ask and I will try to answer. So let's start with the questions. Let's see, let's take a look at the questions. Okay, so the first thing I will answer is, what are the 3 best things about your favorite game of all time? Wow, okay, the 3 best things about my favorite game. So I would classify my favorite game as Obsession, which by Dan Halligan. My favorite things are that it's, so, you know, there's been a bit of debate about whether or not it's a worker placement game, because your workers are not going out onto a main board, you're just cycling them through on your own player board, but it's listed as a mechanic on BGG, and I love worker placement games, so of course this is one I really like. I like how the workers are cycled through, and it's very realistic in the way that they're cycled through, because you are trying to build up your estate and gain the most reputation and wealth for your estate in Victorian England. So you have these workers, like you have maids and footmen and whatever, going out and doing things with these gentry. Like they could be going to the stables, they could be taking an art lesson, they could be doing whatever, having breakfast, you know, in the drawing room. And you need to use your workers and, you know, be careful about which workers you use when and while you're trying to gain your reputation and wealth. So I like how the theme and the mechanics tie in together really well. So that's the first thing I love about it. I love the theme. The theme really appeals to me as someone who loves Pride and Prejudice and Downton Abbey and Bridgerton. I love the theme. I guess the third thing is, I guess the tableau building aspect. So tableau building is not listed as a mechanic or anything on BGG for this game, but for me it feels kind of like a tableau builder, and you know, you're buying these tiles to add to your estate, and then your workers are performing the action on them. So I mean, it kind of feels like a tableau builder to me, but yeah, so I like that aspect of it too. I think it's a super fun game. I just really love it, and I actually don't play it all that often. I think I've only played it a total of maybe 4 or 5 times in my entire gaming career, but I think, you know, it's a game that I love, but it's not a game that I can play very often, because, you know, it does require a bit of setup, and I need to find people who want to play it, and it's difficult to find people who want to play that game as often as I might want to. So that's the first question. The next question is, what motivated you starting this? Will you cover all projects or just some, Kickstarter only or crowdfunding in general? Only board game category or others too? So people who have seen any of my interviews, I've done a number of them, and what got me started in this is that, you know, lockdown started when the pandemic happened in March, and in April I'm sitting there scrolling through TikTok, watching one TikTok video after another, knowing I wanted to make some kind of board game content on TikTok. I wanted to make some kind of content, and I knew it had to be board game content because I can't sing and I can't dance, and I was missing playing board games a lot. I used to run a meetup once a week, and we're back now, so we're running it again since people are vaccinated. And I missed playing board games, and I needed board games in my life. So to be able to talk about them on video was a way to keep them in my life and keep them relevant. So that's what I started doing. So I started making 1-minute overview videos on TikTok. And it's 1 minute because that's the time limit on TikTok. At least it was when I started making videos back in April 2020. So I do cover Kickstarter games as well as retail releases, games that have been out for quite some time, and I would like to continue doing that. I do not plan on covering any other kinds of categories. Like, it asked if I'm gonna cover anything outside of board games, like video games. No, I don't play video games generally. I feel like I have an addictive personality, and if I started playing video games, I'd be sitting there in front of the TV all day just playing and playing, and I wouldn't be able to stop. So that's why I don't play video games. So there we go. The next question is, why elephants in particular? So I have loved elephants since I was very young. I recall being super young and being at a relative's house, and there was an Indian movie playing on the television. It was called Hathi Meri Sati. And in this movie, there's a family that has a little baby elephant, and they're about to move, and they can't take the elephant with them. And so they leave the elephant on the side of the road and just leave without him. And that poor elephant is so sad, and I cried my eyes out. Like, I was like, how can they do this to that elephant? That elephant is family. And I was so sad. I was just so heartbroken. And when I was younger, I didn't know how elephants are treated for different types of industries. I didn't know that elephants are abused to be trained to perform in circuses. And my father used to take me to the circus when I was little. And when I was in high school is when I started learning about how these wild animals are treated. There was a girl in one of my classes who said she was going to protest the circus one weekend, and I didn't understand why. And then that's when I started learning more and more about it. Why elephants? They are just so empathetic. They are the most gentle, kindest creatures that I feel like roam this earth. I mean, okay, maybe not the kindest, but there's plenty of kind creatures. I would say all animals, not human, but yeah, elephants are just so gentle and kind and empathetic. They take care of their orphaned elephants. They bury their dead. They they respect their elders. They have close-knit families. Like, everything about the elephant is just wonderful. They are just the most beautiful animals on this planet, but they go through so much. They suffer so much. They suffer in Africa because they are poached for their ivory, and now for their skin too. So they are poached for their ivory and killed in such horrific ways. They are killed in Asia so that babies can be captured and then trained through this horrific process called Fajan. Is Phajan, if you want to look it up. Some really horrific footage if you can stomach that. So anytime you see a wild animal performing somewhere, know that that animal had to go through a horrific process to be trained to do what it is doing. A good rule of thumb is, if you see an animal doing something, ask yourself, is that something that the animal would be doing in the wild? If the answer is no, it would not be doing that in the wild, then that is not an activity that you should be partaking in, because that animal had to have its spirit broken in order to be able to do that activity. The way that elephants are horrifically abused so that humans can ride them, so that they can see them perform in circuses, so that they can get massages from elephants, so that they can buy a painting made from an elephant. All of these elephants suffer horrifically for their entire lives. So please do not partake in any activities that involve elephants or any kind of wild animal, whether that's tigers in temples, dolphins, swimming with the dolphins, petting sloths. Please don't partake in activities that involve wild animals. Please be an ethical tourist and visit sanctuaries. There are some amazing sanctuaries, and if you are going to Asia or Africa and you would like an experience with elephants, please reach out to me. I have contacts in both Africa and Asia and can point you in the right direction towards ethical places that you can visit and enjoy these animals from a distance, and just enjoy their beauty. And some of these places will let you get a little bit up close if that's really what you want, but please make sure that you're visiting an ethical sanctuary. The next question, this is a good question. How many cats have you had the privilege to take care of in your life? 4. Okay, so I had to think about that for a second because now I have 2 cats. So the first cat, his name was Kitty. Yes, very original. So I was 7 years old. I was sleeping on the couch and I wake up to see this cat just lying on top of me. My dad had brought home a cat. It was a tuxedo cat and I loved him so much. He was very independent. He was an indoor-outdoor cat. So what happened was when I was in 9th grade, so he was an indoor-outdoor cat and he used to sit in the kitchen window whenever he wanted to come inside. And we had a bunch of relatives over. It was my birthday weekend and also my older sister's birthday weekend because our birthdays are only 3 days apart. And so we had relatives over. We were preparing for a birthday party, and you know, by this time my little sister had been born. It was just a very full, busy house. I think my little sister was 3 at the time, and she used to pull his tail and bother him, but he just took it. He was very good. He was such a good cat. So anyway, he left the house and he never came back, and I was devastated. I felt like, what if he felt neglected? Like, why didn't he come back? He was only 7 years old at the time, I believe. And why didn't he come back? Like, what happened? And I cried my eyes out. I put up flyers everywhere. I searched everywhere for him. I cried for weeks and weeks and weeks. I would sometimes like end up breaking down crying in the middle of a class and run out of the class to go to the bathroom. Like, I was just so devastated. I was devastated a lot because like when an animal runs away, you don't know what happened to it. You don't know if it's been captured by someone bad. And there were rumors that there were these like kids who were, you know, doing satanic rituals on cats and, you know, doing horrible things to them. Like, that was something that was happening at that point in time, and that's the same time that my cat went missing. So, you know, to this day, I always pray that he lived and died peacefully, because I don't know what happened to him. So yeah, so my first cat was Kitty. He was a tuxedo cat. The second cat was also a tuxedo cat. His name was Baby Weasley. So one day my father was out taking a walk and this stray cat followed him home. He was a kitten at the time and I loved him. He would curl up in my lap and, you know, we took care of him for a few days, and then my mom decided that she just doesn't want any more pets. So she made me take him to a shelter. I visited him every day at the shelter to play with him, to feed him, like, you know, make sure he was being taken care of and just to play with him. So finally my mom realized like, okay, she really wants this cat. So she agreed to let me have him. So I went and adopted him, and I even paid the adoption fee and brought him back home. And then a few weeks later, my father was taking a walk. And by the way, this cat, I kept him as an indoor cat. And then a few weeks later, my father decided to take a walk in the evening, and he decided that Baby Weasley wanted to go on a walk with him. So he opened the door and Baby Weasley went on this walk with him and never came back. Well, no, actually he did come back. So for a few weeks he went missing, and then he came back. And when he came back, maybe it was a few months, I can't remember now. This was a long time ago. This is when I was in college. All I remember is when he came back, he was really fat. And I think it had to be the same cat, like a tuxedo cat that had like the same kind of markings that shows up on our doorstep a few weeks or months later. I'm pretty sure it was the same cat. So he showed up on the doorstep. At this time, my mom decided she doesn't want to keep him. He's fat and he's dirty. So, and I pleaded and I was like, no, like, we'll clean him off. We'll take care of him. Like, I was convinced it was the same cat. I was convinced it was Baby Weasley. But my mom, she put him in the car, and she and my younger sister dropped him off on a farm, according to them. So according to them, my sister, yes, I know this sounds ridiculous and made up, but this is the story. They said that my sister had family friends who owned a farm and that had not stray cats, but farm cats, and that they were going to drop him off there and that he would be well taken care of there. And they did this while I was not at home. And so, yeah, so Baby Weasley apparently went to go live on a farm. you know, to this day, they claim that that's truly what they did. So I will take them for their word and say, okay, they truly did drop him off on a farm and he became a farm cat. You know, I can only hope that that's true. I don't think my family would lie to me like that, so it has to be true. Okay, then we come up to Dobby. Dobby I adopted when I was in grad school in Indiana, and everyone knows about Dobby. I post pictures of him all the time. He is now 15 years old, and I love him so much. And, you know, he's got so many white patches now and in places that he didn't have them before because he's getting older, so he has kidney problems. And of course, Toffee. You all know about Toffee, my first non-tuxedo cat. He's a rescue. A former colleague slash friend of mine who lives pretty close to me was taking care of this stray cat who turned out to be pregnant and had little kittens. And funny story, that cat was then stolen by someone who lives in an apartment below me, below me, you know, 2 over. And so they stole the stray cat and then refused to give it back to my friend. And they were trying to make up their mind whether or not they would want to keep the cat or the kittens after they're born. So the kittens were born. I went to go see them when they were just like a week or so old, and I immediately fell in love with all of them. So after a while, they decided, yeah, they don't want the cat or the kittens. So then my colleague slash friend took them back, and then she found homes for the kittens, and she's kept the mom and spayed the mom, and the mom is her cat now. Yeah, so Toffee is adopted from that litter, and I just love the fact that his origin story is kind of, you know, being in the same apartment complex. You know, he lived in an apartment that's 1 down and 2 over from me. So, and that I got to see him when he was just a little baby. I didn't adopt him until he was 3 months old, though. So those are the cats that I've had the pleasure of taking care of. Next question. I'd like to hear about which types of games you like most and which games you like when playing with different crowds. My favorite types of games are worker placement, deck building, tile laying, and tableau building games, I believe. Oh, and social deduction. I enjoy a really good social deduction game and deduction game, like, you know, the Search for Planet X or Awkward Guess. I will say the heavier games that I enjoy, like the Euro, the heavier Meteor Euros, I plan to play those with friends outside of the weekly meetup that I host. There have been a few occasions where we have played a heavier game at the meetup, but in general, I try to keep those games like light to midweight so that other people who are not into the heavier stuff can also enjoy the meetup, and that we can all play with each other so that we're not always grouping with the same small group of people when we're there at the meetup. So I think it's important to do that. I think it's important, you know, for a weekly meetup, unless of course you have a weekly meetup that's definitely dedicated to like heavy Euros. If that's like, you know, the theme of your weekly meetup, then sure, play a heavy Euro every week, whatever. But you know, our meetup, the meetup I run, is designed for people who want to maybe get into board games, know nothing about board games, have been playing board games for a long time. It's for everyone. So, you know, we try to keep it enjoyable for everyone. Oh, here's one. What upcoming game are you most excited about? There are a bunch of awesome games on the horizon, but I wanted to know which one you are most interested in playing. I have a few prototypes in possession, which I'm super excited to play. I mentioned Awkward Guess earlier. The creators and publisher of Awkward Guess are coming out with a new deduction game called Scandal O. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about Backyard Chickens, which looks like a really fun game with, you know, cool chicken artwork. I'm excited to try Top Pop by Talent Strike Studios. Yeah, I mean, there's so many games I'm excited about. I don't know what else is coming out in the next few months, to be honest. So I guess I'll find out at the same time you do, because right now the only games I know about are the ones that I'm going to be covering. I haven't been keeping up with Kickstarter news, I guess, so I don't know what else is coming out in the next few months that I should be aware of. Yeah, I don't know. Considering your love for elephants, would you ever create a board game about saving animals in a fun yet educational way that encourages real-life activism? Yes, and I am. So if anyone's listened to me talk in interviews, you know that I am working on a worker placement board game about rescuing working elephants in Asia and putting them into sanctuaries. And the goal of this game is to be an educational but fun game. So I plan to have, you know, flavor text, which will be facts about animals on the cards. And yeah, I want it to be fun and I want it to be educational. So yeah, I am doing that. What are your top 5 games? So that's, I feel like it's constantly changing. So top 5 games, I will say Obsession, Abomination, The Heir of Frankenstein. I'm gonna stick Coloma up there, even though I've only played it once, but I just know it's gonna be a top 5 game for me because of the amount of player interaction, and it has mechanics that I really enjoy. I enjoy how quick it plays. For like a mid to heavyweight kind of game, it's just a really great thematic game. So that's 3 games already. Oh my god. Petrichor, I think, is still probably a top 5 for me. I don't know. Maybe I'll just throw in the Grand Carnival there for right now, because I don't know. I would have to reevaluate what my top 5 games are. It's been a while since I've done that. It's been months. But so for now, let's just go with that. I don't know. What is your favorite mechanic? Worker placement. What's the best game you've backed? Whoa, wow. The best game I've backed? I'm just gonna scroll through my Kickstarter right now because I don't know what's the best game I've backed. I can think of games that I've backed that I definitely did not enjoy. Let's see. Gosh, that's a tough one. Wow, that's a really tough question. I'm going to say for right now, it's a game, you know what, I don't know if it's the best one I've backed, but I really enjoyed Canvas, just looking at the list of games I've backed and have already received. In terms of games that I haven't received yet, Endless Winter, I feel like that's going to be an amazing game. I'm super excited about the Transcontinental. I hope that will be as amazing as I think it's going to be. Rado had high praise for it, so I think that will be really good. Okay, let's go back to the questions. What was the campaign and game both good? So for Canvas, I honestly don't even remember what the campaign was, whether it was good or not. I don't know. I'm the kind of backer that once I back a game, I just kind of don't pay attention too much after that. Unless there's a stretch goal I desperately want, I just kind of forget about the campaign. So yeah, unless there's a stretch goal I really desperately want, I forget about it. But if there is a stretch goal I really want, then of course I will check the campaign religiously, like multiple times a day, like a psychopath, to see how much money it's earned. So yeah, okay. Let's see. I think I've answered a bunch of these. Okay, here is a good one. And this one's going to require a bit of a longer discussion. So there's 2 questions left, and I'll kind of group them together in a way. So let's start with this one. You can change one thing in the world of board games. What do you change? This has a lot to do with how people interact with each other, especially on social media sites, especially on Twitter and to a lesser degree Facebook, but I would say that the main issue is with Twitter. I would say that, you know, there are people who have, you know, causes that they are very passionate about, as am I. I'm very passionate about, you know, certain causes in life, but the methodology in which certain people use to achieve their objectives, I don't, you know, agree with. So for me, I am a diverse content creator. I am a woman of color. I am a Muslim female. I'm practicing Muslim. I'm a child of immigrants. But the way I've been treated in this industry by many people, you would think that I'm not a diverse content creator the way I'm treated by the same people who claim to be fighting for diversity and inclusivity. So the one thing I would like to see changed in this industry is for people to have integrity. I think that there is a serious lack of integrity in this industry. I see people claiming to fight for certain causes, but then use the same kinds of methods to fight for those causes that they claim are wrong when other people use those methods. you can't fight hate with hate. If you think that, if you're trying to keep out gatekeeping from this board game industry, you should not become a gatekeeper in trying to do so. And I feel like a lot of people who, cry about gatekeepers have now become the gatekeepers. If you don't think and believe and act exactly as they do, all of a sudden it seems like you are their enemy and they will do whatever they can to bring you down. At least that's been my personal experience. So, I'll tie in some personal experiences into this, since I have been through a lot in the 1 year that I have been a content creator. And back in January, I went to an amusement park for one day and I was called a murderer because I took off my mask to take a picture more than 20 feet away from people. I was told I am murdering people for doing that. I went to Universal Studios and went to Wizarding World, and then I was called a TERF. And the most recent incident that I experienced where I felt I was being discriminated against by a publisher because I had said Palestinian lives matter, and this publisher did not like that. And here's the thing: after I I did an interview about it, I had a video interview about my experience, and then I had a recording that backed up what I said. But people have confirmation bias. So in these people's mind, I'm already a dangerous person. I'm already this horrible person that no one should work with. So when they listened to this recording, they heard what they wanted to hear. They didn't hear someone gaslighting me. They didn't hear someone who was clearly discriminating against me, which I think the audio makes very clear. People heard me, a dangerous person, trying to corner this person, which is not what I was doing at all. In fact, the publisher, Helena, she's the one who brought up the whole Palestinian Lives Matter issue during the conversation. But somehow it was me trying to corner her. I was the one who was told that, no, we're not going to work with you because of the way you talked about Palestinian Lives Matter. Again, people have confirmation bias, but once they decide that you are against them, then everything you do is terrible. Nothing you do could be right, So I feel like a lot of people have no integrity. The same things that they claim to be against, they will do themselves. They will do to other people. They will bully people. They will harass people. They will claim it's dangerous to take screenshots of people and post their, tag them on Twitter posts. Yet that's been done to me time and time again by these same people claiming it's dangerous. I've had that done to me so many times since January, where my name has been mentioned in posts, where I've had screenshots of my name without my name blocked out put up by these people. And yet when I've done it a couple of times, I'm told I'm being dangerous, that I'm creating a dangerous environment. When their followers come on my Twitter profile to harass me, to just bully me, that's okay. But when people I don't know do the same to them, people I have no control over, then apparently I'm a dangerous person. It's just ridiculous. I'm just, the whole board gaming Twitter thing is just, I just see a complete lack of integrity. So if I wanted to change one thing, it would be for people to have integrity in this industry. Unless, it's just in so many different ways. It's in the way that you treat people on social media. It's in the way you handle your business contacts. It's in the way you treat friends. I've, lost people I considered friends who didn't want to go down with me when I was being bullied. There's just so many instances where I've been treated in such a way. And for me, it boils down to a complete lack of integrity that I see. And why that is, I think it's because the board gaming industry is not as big as the video gaming industry, right? It's a pie, a small pie that everyone wants a big piece of. And what are you going to do when you want a big piece of a small pie? You are going to be ruthless. You are going to be cutthroat. You are going to behave if you have no integrity in ways in which you should not be behaving. So for me, that's not how I like to live my life. For me, integrity means everything. Everything I have done in my life, I have done with integrity. I've been a believer in justice. The choices I've made in life, the career choices I've made in life. At one point there was someone on Twitter claiming that I was only using Palestinian lives matter for sympathy. And I'm like, seriously, that's why I went to graduate school for Middle Eastern Studies before going to law school, because I only care about getting sympathy. Like, the claims that these people make, I've been called a TERF, like even during the most recent episode where I was getting bullied, where I, made light of the situation where I, as a Muslim person, was being discriminated against. As a person who believes Palestinian lives matter, I was being discriminated against. And immediately that discrimination was swept under the rug because, again, confirmation bias. They heard what they wanted to hear. I was labeled as dangerous, and I had multiple people calling me a TERF. Like, okay, I'm a TERF, yet, other people who are not white, who are white, who are white, who are not Muslim, can post stuff about Harry Potter and not be called a TERF. I witnessed that very recently. Someone had made a TikTok video and posted it on Twitter about a Harry Potter game, and not one person I could see call that person a TERF. Yet, I watch a Harry Potter movie and I have people taking screenshots of my tweet calling me a TERF. I have people subtweeting about me calling me a TERF. Here are people who will not examine their own implicit biases. I have people who claim that they did not know I'm Muslim and that there's no such thing as Islamophobia in the board game world. Like, oh, excuse me? So you can tell me as a non-Muslim that I, as a Muslim person, am not facing Islamophobia? No, that's not how it works. If I told a trans person, oh, sorry, there's no such thing as transphobia, like, that's not what you're facing, I would get, like, booed. I'd be like, oh, people would be like, what is she saying? How does she have the right to say that? Yet here I have all these people telling me, a Muslim person, that I am not the victim of Islamophobia in this industry. Yet, in the past, I have spoken about my minority status, and then I was accused of using my minority status for sympathy. Like, time and time again, I do things and I am treated in a certain way, and I am put down for doing the same things that these people do. And when they do it, it's perfectly fine. When I do it, it's not fine. So please tell me why that is, right? So it's a lack of integrity. It's having double standards. If you claim to be for diversity, you should be for diversity for all people. If you see someone who was clearly discriminated against because she used her platform to say Palestinian lives matter, that's something that should have bothered you. But instead, that was swept under the rug, and I was labeled dangerous, I was labeled a TERF, and it was not spoken about again. So again, a lack of integrity. God forbid people lose their profits. God forbid they lose their connections to certain publishers to get free games to review. I mean, I had someone message me, I won't even name names, but a big person in this industry, to say, oh, I don't think that this is good. Paraphrasing, I think that this is going to go badly for you. Helena is well liked in the industry, and, we get free games from her. You should think about what you're doing. And it's like, really, free games matter more? Okay, that's great. I'm just so over it. I'm over board game Twitter. So if there's one thing in the world of board games I could change, it would be, I'd want people to have integrity. Just have integrity. So going to the other question, and there is so much more I could say about that. Like, honestly, having only been in this industry for a little over a year now, and having gone through two really bad, terrible episodes where I was harassed and bullied and had screenshots posted of me and have had so many untrue things said about me. There's just so much more I could say about that if I wanted to, but I'll just leave it at that. What Muslim board game content creators do you follow? None. So here's the thing. I do feel like I am a victim of Islamophobia in this industry for a number of reasons, which, I could go into later. But, I think it's pretty obvious that the one Muslim female who gets called a TERF over and over, and then other people don't get called a TERF when they post Harry Potter videos, like, okay, I think you should examine why it's okay to call me a TERF and not this white non-Muslim person. So I don't follow any Muslim board game content creators because I do feel like the ones that I know of, so I think as someone who's born a Muslim and had been previously married to a Muslim man, I can acknowledge the problems that exist within my own religion and culture. And there is misogyny in this religion and culture, as there are in many religions and cultures. There's a Muslim board game content creator on Twitter who I had followed even before I started getting bullied in January. Like, I had posted on Twitter like, oh, I wish that there were people like me in this industry, and then someone tagged this person and I started following him, and I tweeted at him. I tried making efforts to reach out to him, and he ignored every single one of my tweets. Maybe he thinks I'm just super annoying. I don't know. Like, I don't need to be loved by everyone. That's true. I don't need to be loved by everyone. I don't need to be liked by everyone. There's something that someone said to me recently. A friend said to me, if someone doesn't like him, then chances are he's happy about it because he won't like that person either. Chances are if someone doesn't like you, then maybe they're not the kind of person you would like either. So maybe this person just hates me for whatever reason and just didn't want to respond to any of my tweets for whatever reason. I don't know. I was just trying to find someone else like myself in the world of content creation, so I had made several attempts at reaching out to this person, and time again those attempts went ignored. So finally I unfollowed. I'm like, why am I following someone who clearly wants to have nothing to do with me? So that's why I don't follow this Muslim board game content creator. Something I've seen as a Muslim female growing up is Muslim men can do certain things and it's perfectly fine when they do them, but if a Muslim female does them, it's seen as being wrong. So I don't know this person. I don't know their psyche. I don't know anything about them really, except for what I see on Twitter. I don't know if this person in his mind is thinking, oh, what is this Muslim female doing putting herself on the camera like that? Like, I don't know what's going through his mind. I don't know why he doesn't want to talk to me, but he doesn't, so that's why I don't follow him. Another Muslim content creator I've seen on Facebook who had put down my video several times without having ever spoken to me, and I did not see him putting down anyone else's videos the way he would put mine down. So again, I think that maybe it's probably the same issue that I'm thinking of. So I don't follow him either. If you guys know of any Muslim female content creators out there who would be happy to get to know another female Muslim content creator, then please, by all means, put us in touch. I'm talking about board game content creators. I know that there are Muslim female content creators in other industries, but I don't play video games, so I probably wouldn't have much to talk about with them, unless we just talk about content creation in general. I don't play video games. But yeah, if you guys know of any Muslim female board game content creators, I would love to know about them. So anyway, I think I've answered all of the questions. So again, this was the first episode and I am super open to feedback. Please feel free to leave comments and ask me any questions in the comments and I will answer them in the next episode. So if you made it this far, it turned out to be a super long episode, but if you made it this far, thank you and see you guys next week. I hope to do this every week on Friday or Saturday. So unless of course I'm out of town or something, I'm already super looking forward to PAX Unplugged. I already booked my Airbnb, so if you guys are going, please let me know. When it comes closer to December, of course I will make a video about it and maybe we can all plan to meet up and play games. Of course, it will be hard to meet up with a bunch of people, especially if I am going to be working a Fantasia Games table at that time. I don't know if I will be or not, but if I am, then I'll have less time for board games, but we shall see. I really enjoy the first look section of PAX Unplugged. So until next week, bye!